Welcome, everyone, to the Play at 3 podcast. This is our last episode of October 2025. I am your host, Tisha Poncio, and I'm here with my co-host and co-author, Rick. Every time I introduce you, it's something different, right? Last week it was like,
it sounded
"And
depressing,
it's Rick."
and it's Rick. Co-host
I tried to
and
change it this
co-author,
week.
Rick. Okay. I might start getting like a cheerleader number from you next. Maybe 50 episodes in, like a cheerleader. Give me an R, give me an I.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know.
Okay, that's good.
You were a former cheerleader, so maybe you can come up with a routine.
I could do that.
But
I'm
you
not
won't.
going to do that. What I was going to say though, because we were backstage getting ready and I was like trying to mark the place where we were going to start, and I did a clap.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Right?
You did. And then I just used a little marker in Riverside and said, start here.
Right, but what I was going to say is what I told you, you can tell if a person was a cheerleader by the way they clap. And I don't think people clap like this. I started thinking about it. I think I clap still very much like a cheerleader, and I'm not sure that I'm conscious of that.
You probably aren't. I mean, but also I had no idea, because only now you saying that, I'm thinking back to all the times I've watched people clap and I'm like, maybe. But then again, we don't really have cheerleaders in the UK as such. Like,
you don't.
You're
so that's like an American thing then?
Yeah, I mean, you have like full-blown competition. I mean, everything's always bigger in America. I mean, even like college football, I'm amazed how big your stadiums and stuff are just for college football. Yeah. And we're like, some of your college football is actually bigger than some of our major soccer teams.
College football is like huge.
Yeah, I think there's. I'm pretty sure we went past one when I was in Dallas, and I'm 100% convinced that stadium was bigger than some of the Premier League soccer clubs currently in the Premier League right now.
We're not going to talk about my local high school right now. It's a little controversial at the moment. We'll talk about that off camera. But are you talking about when I took you to the football stadium in the town I live, or was it the Stars, like in Frisco? I can't remember exactly.
It wasn't the Stars training
stadium? It was was it the soccer stadium, the football?
No, because I remember you saying that it was a college. It was a college stadium.
Oh, was it the University of? It was the University of Texas, because we were going through Austin. I bet.
Maybe.
So
I feel like we were closer to yours, but we did so much during those 2 weeks. But anyway,
I mean, we've been a lot of places.
We have.
Like, I was trying to think Philly. Then we were in, for all the conferences that we went to when we both worked at Wakelet. There's
Dallas
been a lot
Philly.
I'm really thankful that I've gotten what?
Dallas and Philly are the only two you and I.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. But I mean,
but then Austin and San Antonio,
right? And a culmination between the two of us of the places that we've been, really across the world. We've been to a lot of different places, and that's interesting. I didn't know that cheerleading was.
It's definitely not as big. It's not as big, anywhere near as big as it is in.
When I was a cheerleader, it wasn't like it is now either. It wasn't super competitive like that. Funny enough, I've been writing stories, little snippets. I don't know what that word is. I'm not going to even attempt to say it. Somebody who's listening, probably our library friends will know it, but it's these little tiny short stories. They're not even short stories. They're even shorter than short stories.
Like 7-second Vine videos.
Kind of, but it starts with a V. And I was writing about
Vine
when I was
videos.
Yeah. When I was trying out for cheerleader, I had this audacious confidence that I should not have had. And I'm saying that very lightly, though. As a sixth grader who was not popular and I didn't have any training. And I really just was audaciously confident that I could go out and be a cheerleader and try out for cheerleading. And it was just a popularity contest back then, which I was not popular. So it was really divine intervention that I became a cheerleader, but it's really what taught me. It is really what taught me how much I love people and community
Mm-hmm.
and speaking to people and cheering them on. Like, I'm a natural cheerleader, and I think, you know this about me, but I do think that there are people who maybe don't like my overly cheery disposition all the time. And I just you know this. I genuinely cannot
Yeah.
help it. I just am. Like, I make everything happy even if I don't like at the
Yeah.
grocery store. I hate it. But I try
Mm-hmm.
to make it happy, you
Yeah.
know?
Make it a fun
And if I'm with
experience rather than
someone,
actually.
uh, yeah, and you've
Yeah.
seen you know, we've done conferences together. It's not always been an ideal scenario, but I always find something happy about it. And so that's just
Mm-hmm.
I've just always been a cheerleader. I don't know, Rick. It's my destiny.
Yeah. It's what you were brought to the world to do, bring a cheerleader energy to every single part of your life and everything around.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I had a discussion with the hawk that landed on my fence yesterday,
I
and I
love
was
how
cheering. I
I
was
love how you have conversations with the
I
animals around you like you're Snow White or something.
I am Snow
Um,
White. You know what? That is the Halloween costume
unless
I'm at.
unless
Oh,
it's a
unless what?
squirrel.
Oh,
Or you have a conversation
squirrels
with
get
them, but
me.
it's
It's the
you're
squirrels and
not
the
the
mice.
cheerleader.
Like,
You're
I'm
not
not
cheerleader
Cinderella.
energy to them.
I would rather have the dwarfs and the birds and the deer with me. Speaking of deer,
Speaking
and
of deer, where's this going?
speaking of deer, and hawks and animals, I've been playing Animal Crossing, Rick, and I've been playing it
Hmm.
basically since. Actually, I think it was when you were here right before ISTE or right after
Yes. Yeah,
ISTE.
you
It was
literally
in
had started.
June, July. Well, I think
Hmm.
I had just gotten the account, because I bought the Switch for Avery and she set up the island and everything, but I just kept looking at it thinking, "I paid for this device and nobody's using it. It's now mine." And
I
so
claim ownership.
I mean, I paid for it. Nobody was using it, so it's now my Switch, but I didn't really get into it before, and it was really because of doctor's orders. I have I think I've mentioned on this podcast, the doctors were like, "You're gonna rest, and if you don't rest, you're gonna end up in the hospital."
Yeah.
And I was very close to that, and so in an effort to rest but keep my ADHD brain busy, I took up Animal Crossing, and I am deep, Rick. I'm deep. This is how deep I am. This last week I went on a villager hunt because one of my villagers moved. And I went on a villager hunt for a popular villager. And
Hmm.
I then also ended up on somebody else's island. I paid for internet access so that I could visit islands. And I ended up on this island. And I think I got like $2 million, 2 million bells.
$2 million.
I call it dollars, it's
It's
bells
bells. Is that
in Animal
currency?
Crossing. But it's all about animal villagers, and so you and I have been talking about gamification and
We
gamified
have.
learning,
We
and,
have.
you know, when we were kids,
Hmm.
we played video games, but I don't think that we
Yes.
even remotely knew how big and how impactful gaming was going to be.
No, absolutely. Because I remember when I was like playing video games and stuff, like my first console was the PlayStation 1.
Is that what we're doing? We're
And
doing what is our first console? I hate when you do
I,
this because
why?
it ages me immediately when you do this game, and I think you love to do this game with people
I
so that
am
I'm
not.
around and I have to share.
I'm not. No, no. I am not pointing out that you're older than
Pointing
me. I will just say it straight out.
Actually, you can point that out, but I'm younger than you actually in my spirit.
In
So
spirit.
so the spirit will overturn anything, and the truth of the matter is people still don't think I'm the age I am,
True, true.
which is
You
great.
people do think you're younger. So no, I was going to say that the PlayStation 1 was my first ever games console. I remember my dad bringing home, I think it was a SNES back in the day, because he was playing
Why are you
one of the
saying what is
Mario
that? What is SNES?
Super Nintendo.
Why I've never heard it referred to as that.
Oh, well, Tish. Oh, maybe you need to get with the times. Thought you were a Gen X, but you think that you're a
Nobody
millennial and all
I
this.
am a I lean more
You
towards
have the
millennial, and you
NES and you have the
definitely are
SNES.
boomer Gen X.
You have a Nintendo Entertainment System, a NES, and then you have the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES.
I don't know that I ever called it that, but I'll
Oh
go with
dear.
you on
Oh
this.
dear.
That's fine.
So if
That's fine.
anyone that's
If
listening to
anyone's
this at this
listening.
point, comment in
Yeah, I
the
think it's
comment
just you and
wherever
I
you're listening on
talking
the
to each
platform.
other.
Yeah, nobody's actually listening. We're just rabbiting to each other about different things. But if you are listening, tell us in the comments, did you ever call it a NES or SNES? And I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've even watched videos of people, gamers and all that, and
I'm
refer to them
not
as those.
debating you on this. I'm just talking about my experience.
That's absolutely fine. But we always know that when we finish with this, you're going to be turning around going, you're making all this up, aren't you? So, anyway, going back to what I was saying, when I was playing PlayStation, I was a big PlayStation fan until the Xbox came along. But I remember when I was playing video games, and especially games like the Grand Theft Auto GTA games, because when you had GTA 3 come out, that had a lot of backlash saying that it was violent, it promoted criminal activities and all this, and games are rotting people's brains and they're losing social aspects and all this kind
That's
of
a
stuff.
template we can apply to everything. Social
We
media,
can.
watching TV, certain TV
Yeah,
shows. Yes.
every single time.
Mhm.
But then when you actually think about it, like I used to love, and I spent so many hours playing the original Sims
I
game.
loved The Sims.
The
Yes, I
Sims
used to play that
was,
too on
um,
my computer,
mm-hmm,
like my old computer, and I would
yeah,
sit there. It's so uncomfortable. You get so uncomfortable sitting there, but I was
you
obsessed with that
play
game.
for
I wish I
hours
could
and
play that
hours.
now, actually, and I know
You
I can,
you
but
can.
I've moved
It's a
on to Animal Crossing.
a lot of work just to play a very old video
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
But when you look at it, and especially when you relate to games now, like with you saying Animal Crossing, the things that you have to do to either open up extra features or uh, building things in certain ways, it's getting you critically thinking and problem
Well,
solving
here's what
and creativity in that aspect. But it's
for those of
all
you
video games like that.
yeah, for all of you watching, before we got on to record this, I was actually pretending like I was a streamer with Rick, and
She had
I
one
put the
viewer and was giving me the whole like Twitch experience, but through
I
WhatsApp.
was on WhatsApp, but I essentially what I was realizing is the reason that so many people are locked in from the beginning, and also it's like it's reoccurring. People are going back now to their Animal Crossing games from like when they started in 2020. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
becoming popular again. And what I realize about that, and I think anybody who is creating a platform or a tool for teachers or students, there's research that says if students love something, the teachers are going to do it.
Yes.
If the students are enjoying a tool, an activity, the teachers are going to do it because we know if you enjoy something, your motivation is higher. If you enjoy something, you are going to learn more. It's going to stick more because you are creating ownership of that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if your students don't like something, it's the same thing when you don't like it. You don't want to do
You
it.
become a
So
resistance to it.
yeah. And so as I was playing Animal Crossing for the last several months, I really was looking at it from, okay, what is it offering me that is making me go back multiple times a day and sometimes playing all day, right? Like in my free time. So
Mm-hmm.
what is making me go back? Well, it's the ability to have ownership, it's the ability to create, it's the social aspect of it, and then it's the challenges. So when you look at bringing communities together, if you look at learning and teaching concepts to students, there has to be a social aspect to it because
Mm-hmm.
we're people, right? And there also needs to be this, how if I'm gonna get here, what's the next challenge that I'm gonna do? So giving them challenges, right? And
Yep.
through all of that, the creativity piece, letting them take the tools that you've given them and create something new.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a new concept, but I think sometimes we forget why students are going over and over and over to TikTok or social media or Twitch or YouTube or playing video games. It's because it's offering them all of those things. It's offering them challenges, it's offering them social aspects, it's offering them the ability to create and design. It's also giving real world concepts. It's
Mm-hmm.
interactive. A lot of it is accessible. With
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, there is time management. Who needs that? Me. All the clocks in Animal Crossing, all of the clocks, Rick, that you buy are going to reflect the actual time of day where you are. There's
Mm-hmm.
financial literacy. So I have to know, if I want to build a bridge, it's going to take me 128,000 bells, and I'm going to have to do so many challenges, and I have to make good decisions with my bells, right?
To be able to afford that
Yeah.
particular
And then
item.
the social skills, so I paid for a yearly subscription to get online so that I could
Mm-hmm.
go wherever I want, and so I will, this is true, I will get on a TikTok live, someone who is streaming Animal Crossing, and I
Mm-hmm.
will get inspired by their ideas, their designs. I will, sometimes when you're on those chats, they'll give you codes to get custom designs, or sometimes they'll invite you to their island and you can have whatever you want. It's like a treasure island. And so with all of that, there is that social aspect, the social skills through cooperative play, right? The
Mm-hmm.
creativity in how you're going to design your town. Where are the waterfalls going to be? Where are the rivers going to be? You know, you every house is going to be so many blocks. Do you want your river to be shaped like a cat's head? Okay, how are you going to do that? Right?
Yeah.
And then I think what it is like teachers can integrate the things that students are doing into their lessons. That's like everything we're talking about, ecology and resource management and community building. It's engaging, and in the Animal Crossing or Nintendo Switch community, they call it cozy gaming. And cozy
Mm-hmm.
gaming is like low stakes, low pressure, and
Yes.
it's not meant to make you stress out. I think we need more of that. But
Mm-hmm.
if I, still in the classroom, teachers could utilize the knowledge that they have playing the game. They can relate to their students. I mean, I was showing you, which
Yep.
I'm going to ask you in a second, but I was showing you, like, if I want to cook so that I can have more life, so I can dig more trees. Like, you see, it's such
Yep.
an if then. If I want to cook, I have to grow wheat and I have to grow sugarcane for sugar. Okay, how do I find those? Right? So it's all about resourcing and critical thinking and
Mm-hmm.
problem solving. And, we talk about that in our book as far as entrepreneurship and learning, but it is literally everywhere
Yep.
if you will just look around.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And that is my spiel on Animal Crossing. Now, I have a question for you.
Okay, go for it.
Based on everything that I showed you, because I did give you some snippets, I walked you through, designing houses and things like that, like,
Yes.
I took you some stores, and based on what you saw, like, what things really stuck out to you? What made you intrigued to play yourself?
So the biggest thing for me, because you saw this right at the start, because I asked you the question, how customizable is it?
Yeah.
Because you see so many games, and I think they're more the smaller sized games that are, you've only got a small selection of things that you can do. And they're great
Mhm.
when you're learning about being creative and trying things out. You don't want to overwhelm people. For me, I've now developed more and more about being creative and challenging and seeing what I can actually do. So,
Mhm.
seeing the level of customization within Animal Crossing, the fact that I can create patterns through pixel art,
Mhm.
starts to align a little bit more on how I want to customize it. I
Mhm.
remember like with playing The Sims, you're limited by, oh, you have 5 different types of chairs, you've got 20
Yeah.
different wallpapers. that's it. Unless you buy the
Yep.
expansion packs, which adds a few more onto it,
Right.
but it's not, doesn't go beyond what was originally available in the first game. But then you go and
Mhm.
look at, like, say, The Sims 4. I don't know
Right.
if you've ever seen how customizable Sims 4 is in comparison to the original Sims.
I haven't seen it, but I do know it
It's
is in the Nintendo Switch
crazy.
store. I do see it, but,
Yeah,
like, again,
it is. It is
I
insane.
would
It's one of those when you go from very minimal to
sure.
really extreme. And the great thing is, these games are essentially like a steady stepping stone progression towards getting to real life. Because you can guarantee that there are people, there are young kids, teenagers who are playing the likes of The Sims 4 who are interested in interior design
Mhm.
or art or
Well, it's so
something
interesting.
creative that
Yeah.
allows them to open up their ideas into
Because they're
bringing things
applying
into
it to
real
the
world.
real world.
Mhm.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna tell you. So, behind the scenes, what you guys didn't know is when Rick called me for our call, our, like, pre-meeting before recording, I had just come from, a thrift shop,
Mhm.
and I was explaining to Rick, like, even doing Animal Crossing gives me an eye for decorating. It gives me an eye for things when I'm in the thrift stores and something catches my eye, and it's because I've been doing it on Animal Crossing. I've been looking at how other people design their homes. I've been looking at how the exterior looks. And now I can go into stores and go, "Ooh, ooh, that's
Mhm.
balance.
It
That's
gives you
repetitive."
inspiration.
Mhm. Yeah,
You're
exactly.
using these games as inspirations. I've used the
Mhm.
likes of Pinterest to give me
Mhm.
inspirations in the past, but you can also use certain games to give you inspiration of other things. It's like just to go, not just looking at like interior design or architecture,
Ooh, but
but
graphic design too.
graphic design.
Mhm,
But going off of that, you know the game Gran Turismo, the
mhm, mhm.
driving simulator.
Yep. Oh, yes, I know what you're
I
gonna
have
say.
played that
Yeah.
so often. I've played multiple versions from Gran Turismo 1 all up to the latest version. And
Mhm.
the detail that you go into, you can obviously customize your car. And this is
Yeah.
not visual cosmetics, it's making the car faster, making it handling better, the suspension, transmissions, all those kind of things, which helps the performance of the car when you're racing. But what I love now is you can change the decals on the car, the design of the actual body of the car, and actually upload your own files to the game. So you want to add
Mm.
graphics or logos or things
Mhm,
like that. And I remember when I first discovered that on the game,
mhm.
I spent hours on one car.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's
So
like
that's
designing a
yes.
website. I just
Yes.
started creating this design
Yes.
that was unique to what I wanted to
It's like what
represent.
and
It was your
again, it's like your
personality.
imagination and your personality, and it's that ownership, like, so part
Mhm.
of the Animal Crossing game that I didn't show you is where you can go to, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget what it is. It's like where you go to work. It has a
Mhm.
name, and I'm gonna forget the name, so whoever's
You
listening,
mean job?
please.
You mean you went to go do your job and work?
Yeah, you go to your
You
island
said you
where
said
there
you couldn't
is
remember what it's called, so
no, because
where
it's
you
like
go to
happy I think
work.
it's called Happy Home something. It's Happy
Okay.
Home something. And so what you do is you go to your job and then you are a designer. And so you pick a character that you're gonna design a home for. And I
Mhm.
was watching a TikTok the other day of this really incredible creator who is going in to happy homes and, like, creating homes for people or the
Mhm.
animals, and spending like 4 to 5 hours just on that vacation home
Mhm.
for that job. They're not even on their own island, and so then I was like, "Ooh, like, look how creative this is."
Yeah.
So I did it last night, and I was, like, so proud of myself for, like,
Mhm.
what I had learned. So again, it is that reward. The
Yeah.
learn, the reward, the learn, the reward, and you just keep doing that, and I what I love is there's so many generations that really believe in this and are doing it. And like you said, Stardew Valley is a really big one too, that I've heard about, which is listed in the list of games that I was asking ChatGPT, like, what else is there? You said The Sims.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, Minecraft is one because
Minecraft is
it's
a
used
huge one, huge one.
Yes, it's
But
used in STEM and collaboration, and I think it really lends itself again to that digital citizenship, that social collaboration and learning what is socially appropriate or not, and if you can learn it on the online space, then you're gonna learn it in reality too,
have
right?
you seen as well? I've not looked much into it, but I've seen some of the results of it. You know
Mhm.
the game Fortnite?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
many people play Fortnite. Did you know
Mhm.
they've created a way to build your own video games with the Fortnite engine?
I'm not surprised by that,
So
because
giving
building your
developers, being able
Mhm.
to give
Yes.
people who are learning to develop games a foundation to build something themselves for real world
I
examples.
I visited a classroom, about a week ago,
Hmm.
virtually in Ohio. Shout out to Melissa Hayes and her class. And I was having a conversation with a couple of them, and I asked one of them, like, what is your favorite thing that you've done recently that you've created? And he said, I'm in this class where I'm creating video games. And it gives me so much joy when
Hmm.
students are being given this gift of innovation and creation and are not limited by the four walls of a classroom
Yeah.
and the four core subjects. It makes me so genuinely happy for all the teachers who are out there who are just plowing away a path for students to learn the skills that we talk about in our book, learn the skills that we know are going to help them be successful. And I'm not the parent or the teacher who is like, "No, you shouldn't do that."
Hmm.
I I'll be honest with you, Jace is a lot of social gaming, and it has created this opportunity for me to have conversations with him about digital citizenship. And he has learned that since the beginning. I mean, he was very little when we started talking about it. So now he's like, "Well, I don't play that game anymore because I really didn't like how the people on this game were behaving. I didn't like the words that
Mm.
they were using. I didn't like how I felt after." So it
Yeah.
is like this level of awareness,
Yeah.
which really is going to play into that mental health. But he and his friends socially talk about gaming in person,
Hmm.
and then they play with each other online at night, and they will then give each other reviews on the games so that they can tell each other if it's worth buying the game or not. So one
Mm.
of them will buy the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's Jace, and he'll be like, I'm gonna buy this game. It's gonna come through your bank. I just want you to know this is how much it's gonna be." And then like the next day he'll come to me, he'll be like, "So you're gonna be seeing a refund?" Because what I did is I used my English language arts skills to write out a review and the reasoning for why I deserve a refund on this game. And he is emailing the developers and the Xbox people, like, "This game didn't do this, and this is what it promised, and I want a refund." And he gets the refund. So, like,
Amazing.
imagine if we just opened these opportunities up for kids to be able to do that. You
Well,
game too, though. What game are you
yeah.
playing?
I mean, at the moment, I'm getting back into like Spider-Man 2 on the
Yes.
PlayStation. Um, because that
You
is,
have
yeah, that's.
both, right? You have PlayStation and
I have a
Xbox?
PlayStation 5 and I have an Xbox One. So I've not upgraded
Mhm.
my Xbox because I was a
Jace also has
big
both.
Halo.
He
I
has
was a big
Xbox
Halo.
and PlayStation.
Because
Yeah.
there's certain exclusive games and stuff.
Mhm.
I was a big Halo fan from the
Mm.
first one, but it's kind of, in my opinion, has gone a little bit downhill over time.
Mhm.
It's like it was a great trilogy, and then they tried to, in my opinion, milk it, and
Mhm.
they've not done a great job about it.
Right.
That's my opinion anyway. Um, but there's that. I'm also trying to get into games that have been massively like done really well, and I'm kind of playing catch up. So, um, Ghost of Tsushima,
Mhm.
which is very open world, very
Mhm.
similar to like the Assassin's Creed games. Used to love playing those.
Do you like the ones that have storylines with them? Like it's a story and you're like a character in the story?
Yeah, that's what the likes of Spider-Man and Ghost of
Yeah,
Tsushima.
it's
It's open
interesting.
world, but you've got that. I used to love linear games,
Yeah.
but now that you've got these open world and you can still have that linear progress, but you can go around and do
Mhm.
little side activities as well.
Which is really what, like, Animal Crossing is, right? Like, I was telling you,
Mm-hmm.
if I get on in a certain day and I just wanna do the challenges, I'm just doing the challenges. But
Yes.
maybe tomorrow I wanna go on and I just wanna design a house. I get to do that, but
Mm-hmm.
it is still kind of linear because you're following sort of we talk about it, the customer journey path or the
Yeah.
learner journey path. It's the same thing, like, the player
Exactly.
journey is still kind of in that same line. You're going along linear, but you can take this side road and go over here for a bit, right?
Yeah, as long as you know that you're able to come back to the main
Don't you
journey
think
easily.
don't you think that the education system in general could take a page or two out of the gaming developer's book?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you can.
Because I know teachers are doing it. Like, that's not the problem. It's the teachers are doing it. The teachers are always it's an uphill battle, right, to
It
try to implement those things. But
it
it's the other people.
Yeah, it feels like the teachers are trying to do the open world and have that
Mhm.
exploration with everything,
Yeah.
but then other areas, I'm just gonna say it, the school districts, the government side of things are still playing 90s, 80s style games of a linear journey. You do not deviate
Mhm.
from that.
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are instances where they're trying to add like, oh, it feels like they're trying to say, oh, here's a DLC expansion that you can add on to your
Mhm.
education system.
Yeah, what
But
does
only when
DLC
they,
stand for, actually?
you know what, I have no idea, and I'm going to
Because
Google it,
you
and we've
said
probably
it,
got
and
people
I was looking it up
screaming at
earlier
us going,
too. I
well, how do you
know.
not know this?
We're not gamer podcasts, if you're
We're not,
listening.
we're
We're
not.
just participants in the games.
Yes.
We're
Downloadable
not
content
know-it-alls. What is it?
most commonly
Download
means downloadable content, which is
Oh, so,
extra
like, it would
material
be
for a video
like an
game that is
expansion pack.
downloadable online. Yeah.
So that's the Happy
Yeah,
Homes
it's an
on Animal
expansion pack.
Crossing. It's a DLC,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. Everything has to be an acronym apparently in the world, so.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter what you're in, it has to be an acronym. So just taking it a little bit step back, we talked about how gaming was seen as like this kind of negativity
Mhm.
thing and that we shouldn't do. Why do you think that is? Why did people see it so negatively?
Do you
You
want me
can
to
guarantee
really answer
still
this?
people, yeah, I do. Why do people still probably see gaming as a negative thing, right?
Yeah,
To
they
this
do.
day. Like, I know that I've met people that are saying like, why have they got competitions, eSports? Like, they're making the top gamers are making loads of money. It's so irrelevant. It doesn't bring any purpose to anything. And I mean, my straight argument with that is, well, why do we have sports in general? Why do we have competitive physical sports like soccer and American football and ice hockey and tennis and everything? What does it actually bring to the world? Entertainment, and those people are passionate about what they're doing and growing. But why do you think gaming has had such negativity put on it?
Well, I'm gonna answer this. This is a blanket statement, and I believe it can be applied to anything.
Okay.
Anytime someone does not understand something, is afraid of something, they are going to come at it from a negative perspective. And that you will apply that to whatever you want it to be about. You may not like that I'm wearing a New York Yankees hat right now. You may not understand why I'm wearing it. And of course, you're going to be critical of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I believe that in general, and this also like sort of leads me down this path where I always think like I want to go back and get my doctorate, and actually I want it to be the study of people and their emotions and reactions to technology and gaming, because there is something much deeper there. But I have found over the course of my life, it doesn't matter what we talk about, in what decade we talk about it, when
Mm-hmm.
somebody doesn't understand something, They think maybe somebody knows something more than them, or they're afraid of something. They are going to be critical,
Yeah.
critical, and they're going to find something wrong with everything. And I don't want to be around those people. Like, I've just come to a point in my life when I'm like, you know what? If you can't accept as a human that you're not 100% right, that you're just not 100% right, like, and there's no room for growth or innovation or ideation or seeing things from a different vantage point, if it's so limited, you be limited in that, but I don't want your limits to be tattooed onto me. And if I
Yeah.
spend too much time in those spaces, so I just believe it's a matter of not understanding it, not being able to connect the benefits to the real world. And I believe there's so many fixed mindsets out there, and it's sort of, as I get older, I think it makes me just not even want to like go out into the world and people. So I'm like, you're going to find something wrong with everything. It doesn't matter if you have the best thing in front of you. People are just in this negative
Someone's going to have a negative
non-gratitude
opinion to
about
whatever, everything.
everything.
And that's just
Until they experience something different, and they can only experience something different if they're open
yeah.
to experiencing something different. If they're
Yeah.
resisting it, they're never moving out of that spot. And it goes for gaming. It goes for, innovation in the classroom. It goes for technology. It
Yeah.
goes for social media. We could apply it. The template could go across everything in our lives, right?
Yeah. And I do want to point out, though, Tish, and you may like this, you may not like this.
Tell me.
Would you say it's okay to be negative a little bit?
So I don't want to use the word negative, because I think being negative to be negative is something.
Yeah, negative to be negative is the wrong way.
Looking at something critically doesn't mean negative. Looking at it critically means asking questions, being curious, really being humble about the knowledge that I know right now, and not maybe understanding that side of it, but asking the questions so that I can at least see that perspective. So when I say be critical of something, it's like you are vetting that particular topic or tool to find the benefits and be able to compare the benefits to the downsides, and then make your own educated judgment on it for yourself. But what I always say is, what is for you may not be for me.
Yeah,
I may not
exactly.
come to those conclusions.
Yeah.
So I don't like to say like negative, like, because there are people who are going to be negative about everything. And that's just because they're surrounded by negative energy. But when I say, to the people who are critical about gaming in the classroom, gaming at home, social media for students, high school students running social media, like, I came up against a bunch of criticism on that when I did that in the classroom. But people weren't willing to take the time to understand the benefits and the downsides and see them side by side. Nobody wanted to take the time to be curious.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what it is. Are you just resistant to taking time to be curious about why that person is seeing such a benefit, or those kids are making progress in this way? And I just think that's what it is. But I don't even know if any of that made sense.
Yeah, it made sense to me. I think what I'm interested
I felt like
in
I was on my soapbox for a minute. Sorry.
Well, I was on my soapbox 4 or 5 times last week, so it's about time you stepped up onto yours this time.
Yes.
But would you say that even being critical and asking questions and stuff, would you say that is a level of resistance?
I think criticism and resistance are two different things. I think the critical thinking of it is again, you're being open, you're being curious. The resistance is, I really don't care what you have to say about this. This is what I believe, and I don't have room for anything else. So I'm just going to stay over here in my corner, and you're never going to convince me that gaming is beneficial to learning. Right? Like, it's just that resistance. It's again, it goes back to, I know what I believe, and what I believe is the right thing, and it doesn't matter what you say. And it's so difficult for me. And I think it's because, as a neurodivergent person in the world, I started off immediately being born into a world that was linear and said, these are the rules and this is how you're going to play and this is how things are going to be. And there's no room. There's no room for anything else. And I remember just really my whole life thinking, this is the most uncomfortable place to live. Why do you guys have so many structures around this? Why can we not just have a little bit of room? Because when you open up a little bit of space on Animal Crossing, for example, and you clear out some grass
Yeah.
and you plant a couple of flowers, you know what happens? The flowers get watered by the rain or the water can, and then more beautiful flowers spawn over and over and over. And I think that's how my brain has always worked. So it's hard for me to see that perspective. I also grew up with a parent who was very resistant in that way. So when you hear me get on a soapbox, it's because that's kind of what I grew up with.
The thing is, what you're communicating there, would you say that you were resistant to the resistance of other people?
Yeah, I am because it just comes down to, I would love to have a conversation with you about X.
Mm-hmm.
I am willing to show up and be curious and be respectful and see your perspective and your hesitation and maybe your fear. But again, it's because I'm like willing to have this conversation. I feel like resistance never shows up to have a conversation.
Yes, yeah, I'd agree with you there. Have you ever been resistant though to something?
Of course I have. This isn't a new story.
It isn't.
Yes,
So
it
I'm
isn't a
kind
new
of
story.
I'm
I
doing the
know.
linear story with you
It's
right
good.
now.
It's
I'm doing
good.
the linear story with you right now. We're playing the video game and we're on that path right now.
Yes.
So you have been resistant.
Oh, I have
What
been
would
resistant. Yes.
Yeah, you have been resistant before. What would you say has been the pinnacle point or things that you've done to open your mind to being
Mm.
less resistant and going into that conversation? Because you're saying about, oh yeah, I like to have curiosity and have conversations and all this
Mhm.
kind of stuff. We know that you didn't start off like that.
No.
Nobody started off like that.
No.
How did you transition from that so that others can start to learn, okay, I'm realizing I'm being resistant to this thing. You've pointed them out to me before, where I've been resistant. What would you say people need to look at to understand where they're being resistant, where they should actually be more open to conversation, not open to say, I agree with it, but start having those initial discussions?
I think they need to be looking at themselves in the mirror. I think a lot of resistance is spawned out of fear of ourselves. And again, it's that fear of what we don't know, the fear or self criticism that we aren't going to know enough or be enough. So rather than even finding out, we'll just be resistant to it. I think another part of that, like I said earlier, it comes from how you were raised, how you grew up,
Mm,
what you experienced, you're now trying to apply to everybody's experience, and that's just not possible. And so I think a lot of it is learned behaviors. Like that is where I learned it. I just told you my mom was very resistant to a lot of things. A lot of discussions were not even on the table for discussion.
yep,
This is what we believe. This is what we do. This is how it works. And it was very structured. And as you know, I did not do well in that environment.
yep.
And so for me to get to the point where I was, it really was me humbly and honestly taking a look at myself, for example, as a teacher. Like
Mm-hmm.
whenever I started working with my students and giving them autonomy and room to grow and play and design and create and lead, it really was because I had to take a personal look at what I was doing and create this place of safety for myself
Yeah.
that it's okay that I wasn't doing it perfectly. It's okay that I have changed my mind. It's okay that I have changed my approach to teaching. It's okay that I didn't know it before, but now I do.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I know better, I can be better for
Yes.
them and myself.
Yeah.
And that's really where it started, which is that's a personal journey, but it definitely applied to my classroom and to my students and really everybody around me. And it's been a long journey. It's been like 10 years that was 10 years ago, right? But
Yeah.
I still get resistant to things. I was resistant to Wakelet. I've been resistant
Yeah.
to digital tools before, and that's me really just not seeing the benefit yet, but always being willing to have a conversation. I've reached out to people on LinkedIn to have conversations about their particular tool and never heard anything back. Hey, I'd really love to have a call with you and talk about your tool. No response, right? So I'm always kind of putting it out there like, I would love to chat about this. What's the benefit? Let me see what is working for you. I would love to know more. I don't think that there are tons of people out there doing that, again, because I think people are being resistant, just like I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it goes as well. You were saying about they need to look at themselves and
Mhm.
realize they're being resistant. I think one action that people could do is where you've been resistant of just shutting it down. No, instead of
Right.
just shutting it down, just ask a question.
Mhm.
Even if it's as
And
simple
it's
as
just a question to
why.
yourself even, right?
Well,
Like a
just
question to
yeah, question
yourself.
yourself,
Yeah.
or even just to the.
Yeah.
I think being able to ask the question to someone, so it's like, we'd like to do this. Just asking why at
Mhm.
least opens the door a bit to start the
Right.
conversation. We're not here to
Absolutely.
say like, oh yeah, you need to go from complete shutdown to having full-blown
No,
debates
and it
and
will never happen
conversations.
that way. It
It
is
never
an
will, but at
organic
least
process.
slowly growing
Mhm.
in that. And that comes
Yeah,
into
it
like the
just
more open world kind of idea of gaming. It's a progressive thing that you do, and it's something that you're developing on yourself as you progress on this linear path. You're doing a side quest of being less resistant and more open to discussions on things that can enhance
yeah, and
anything
when
that
you're
you're doing.
right, and when you're open to the discussions, it also means just naturally that you're then open to the experiences. When you
Yes.
open yourself up to the questions and then the discussions, then you're opening yourself up to experiences. So for me, it was like, okay, I've opened up myself to asking myself, is this really best teaching? Am I really offering my students what I need to be offering them? And if not, why? And so as I changed that, then we would do team building things like at escape rooms. And those
Mm-hmm.
escape rooms, experiencing that taught me a whole lot about like just critical thinking and experiencing that. And it was being uncomfortable and learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortableness,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then because of that, I went, "Oh, well, maybe I should get my master's degree. That's gonna be really uncomfortable." And then it was like, because I felt the fear, felt the uncomfortableness, did it anyway, I just kept applying that. So I would say to the
Mm-hmm.
people resistant to gaming or social media, like, "Okay, be resistant to it, but have you tried it?
Yeah.
And if you haven't tried it, how can you be resistant to something you haven't tried?" My dad used to tell me
Exactly.
when we got to eat, like, "Try this food just once. You're not gonna know if you don't like it or you do like it unless you try it." And
I was
so
so
when
resistant in those
I know,
situations.
see? But you now know that you don't like whatever, like lettuce, for
Yes. That
example.
is that is the number one thing that I cannot stand at all. And I
But I
always get
think
criticized on that as, oh, Rick doesn't like anything healthy. But it's
right, but do you
one
see how
item.
we jumped? We jumped from that one item to now this big opinion
The
to where
whole thing.
yeah, the whole
And
thing.
it's
You don't
not
like
true.
anything that's good for your body. That's not true.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's what it's about. And people who don't want to have a discussion with you about lettuce and why you don't like lettuce, maybe you're allergic to lettuce. I don't know, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I
Just
am.
saying.
Maybe that's my new
Well,
excuse to
I
basically
know.
flat out say, no, I'm
No,
allergic. I'm not
it's so
allergic, but
you're
yeah,
not allergic. No,
I'm
but
not
I think
allergic,
I
but
think you prove a point here is that just because you don't like something, do you not like it just because you don't want to like it? Is it because somebody else told you not to like it? Is it
yeah,
because it's harming you? Is it because you have an experience with that? But nobody will know that unless you have a discussion with them about it. And then
exactly.
you can, right? So we talked about that, was it last week or the week before, about debating and having
We
discussions
did, yes,
and talking.
three weeks ago, because we had an episode last week, but then we didn't have an episode the week before.
Well,
Disappointed
I
with
think
that.
this
We were doing
podcast
so well with that.
we were, but
We
life
needed a
happens.
break.
I think here's the thing. we are showing up every week with or
Yes.
without a guest. We would love for you to be a guest on our podcast, but we're going to show up every week and have discussions because I believe that we all need to have more discussions. Whatever the
Absolutely.
topic is, we need to be
Absolutely.
talking more and hearing each other more and being curious about why we believe certain things because
Yeah.
when you create a conversation with someone, you create trust.
Yes.
And as you do that, those people that you trust will call you out in a loving way and be like, "You know what, Tisha? I don't think you're my students. You know, Miss Poncio, I don't think you're giving us voice and choice like you say you are. So
Yep.
maybe we should do something different, right?" And so it's
Mhm.
just those conversations, and it
Exactly.
helps you
Exactly.
grow. So,
On both
Rick,
sides as well. So
yeah,
I think before I mean, we're now 50 minutes into this
I
episode,
know.
which is amazing.
It's my
And we can always, you know what? I feel like we're going to be needing at some point this podcast is going to end up getting split into two episodes. We're going to end up doing a 2 hour long and splitting it into 2 weeks. So just before we finish off, I want to talk to you about esports in schools.
okay.
How important do you think it is then to have an esports team? Because if we've been talking about creativity, doing the likes
Yeah.
of Minecraft and Animal Crossing and The Sims and
Mhm.
other stuff, but when you look at esports, that's when you get more into kind of strategy games, League of Legends,
Mhm.
your
Mhm.
first person shooter games, uh,
Mhm.
those kind of things, which are a different. They have their different characteristics
Well,
create compared to the ones that we were discussing. How
it's
important would you say
it's
those are within the school as well?
I think it goes back to what I said in the beginning. I think that the students are going to learn social skills
Yes.
that we as a society are saying you don't have social skills because you always have your face in your phone. Okay, well, here's a great way to teach them social skills. Are you going to be resistant to that too? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's again meeting them where they are. I think it is really good at teaching them, like you said, strategy. With any
Mm-hmm.
game, there is a strategy as a
Yes.
player and a strategy as a coder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're learning the strategy skills. I think it's yeah, I am always going to say that esports programs are going to meet students in a way that athletic sports programs aren't. And I will always advocate for the students who were like Jace, who cannot physically participate in a sport that
Mm-hmm.
they maybe want to participate in. So we go back and talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, belonging and safety that has the opportunity to create safety if done correctly,
Yeah.
and then letting them go to competitions where there are other schools with other teams and
Competing
winning an
and
award.
yes.
Like, there is nothing better than being on a team and contributing to something like that and bringing home an award
Yes.
as a team. And I just we need to go back to that mindset of we are on the same team. We want the same things. And I'm always going to advocate for that. Now, my brain, as you know, is always like 10 years ahead. So I was asking for esports programs in my school long before anybody knew about it. And I got a lot of resistance. And that's what it
Mm-hmm.
was, just resistance, not curiosity, not let's talk about it, not
Yep.
show me the research to show me the benefits. It was just no.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, since then, now there are esports programs everywhere. So here's my call to action, Rick, for
Go on,
all
give
of
us a
you. And this
call
is
to action.
you. This is you too, and it isn't just our listeners. My call to action is that you go find a game.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a video game. It could be a puzzle
Board
game.
game.
That it could be a board game. It could be any game. Go find the game that you want to play and spend 1 to 2 hours a week doing that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you'll find is it will reset your brain from all of the stimulation
Yes.
and all the negativity, and it will give you some joy and remind you that you're creative and remind you that you started off as a, what'd you say, Gen X or millennial playing video games. And I believe in it a lot. And we didn't even plan to talk about this, but I was so passionate when we started talking about it. You were like, let's chat about this.
Yeah,
But that's my
let's
call to
discuss
action
it.
for you too.
Yeah.
Your call to action is to play a video game. And I am trying to get Rick to play Animal Crossing. So if you are playing Animal Crossing and you want to be friends with me, please reach out because I need friends.
Yeah, Tisha's trying to get more friends and to get me to buy a Switch. So I have the whole library of Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo.
That's actually really cool. I need the Atari. I'm looking at that. Ooh. If anybody wants to let me know of a good Atari. That was my first gaming system.
That was your first gaming system.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Well, no Juicebox confessions this week.
No, I feel like we did that. I feel like you asked some
week.
Questions where these were some confessionals from me.
They were. We got you up on your soapbox and stuff. So
you did.
Yeah, if you've enjoyed this episode, like, follow, subscribe wherever you're listening to. Comment in the description. Let us know what's your favorite games. What's your first gaming console that you used? We'd love to hear about it. If you want to be a guest, there is a link in our description to fill out a form and let us know if you want to be a guest on future episodes. All our social links are in the description. It's just a package of everything that you need. So I think till next week, we'll see you then.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.